Too many notes to make any sense out of the upcoming exams? Here's how to turn this into this. Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shaveen Bandaranaike. A question I get asked almost on a daily basis is how do I summarize the content or the material that I've taken down during my lectures, during online study and my research, and use them in a productive manner during an examination or an assignment submission. Now, for the most part, this is the unfortunate circumstance that many law students face throughout the globe. There's a lot of content, there's a lot of material to go through throughout your semester. And law by nature is something that you need to spend time and you need to respect the requirement of reading in terms of the subject matter. Now, granted, from an examination standpoint, you might have to be more granular in how you're being examined and how you prepare for it and how you apply the law to any given scenario. As a result, when you are especially a first-year law student, you might think of everything as being important. The comical adage to this is when you get a textbook, you'll see more often than not highlighting of a caliber that you would not see in any other type of subject, pretty much highlighting everything that you see on each and every page. Now, that being said, every single person has a different method of summarizing notes or taking down notes for that matter from their lectures, from online research, as well as the material provided to them. But one key element that you need to understand is that when it comes to preparing for law exams and when it comes to the study of law, repetition is key. Now, on a number of occasions on this very YouTube channel, as well as the different platforms the Law Simplified is disseminated on, I've made it a point to indicate how important repetition is. Not just in relation to study, but also in relation to preparing for the examination by going through past examination questions and writing as many answer scripts as possible. But this video is meant to help you or to guide you in understanding how best to convert whatever material that you have already amassed into a more succinct format. Now, for me, I come from a computing software engineering background. And in terms of software engineering, as some of you might be aware, there is a process known as flowcharting. Flowcharts are used to simplify processes and procedures when developing code and when developing softwares as such. Now, coming in from software engineering, this was a technique that I understood to simplify concepts that might be complex to me. But as most of you might know, I have incorporated that into what you might have seen online and through my courses as the spider graphs. These spider graphs are meant to be a distilled form of what I prepared for during my study of the law. Now, mind you, spider graphs might not be the only method by which you can prepare for your examinations. It's just a method that I have adopted, and a lot of you have found it helpful in order to understand and articulate responses. Now, how do you go about doing this? Well, it's actually quite simple. First, you need to compile all of the material that you currently have. This might go into tens, if not hundreds of pages. From this, you'll have to summarize it into a two-sided A4 sheet. Now, bear in mind, this might be easier said than done. But the purpose of this is to make you read and reread the material that you've been provided by your university. Remember, these are notes that you ought to have taken, not ones that have been provided to you. So the more you read them, the more you are able to summarize them. This in itself is an exercise. From this, convert it into a smaller two-sided A5 sheet. Now, at the time I was preparing for my exams, I used to have a whiteboard, a very small A4 sized whiteboard, which I would then look at the A5 sheet and convert into the spider graph that you saw earlier. Now, these spider graphs are essentially a distillation of the processes that I spoke of earlier, where you summarize a large set of notes into a two-sided A4, then summarize that even further to a two-sided A5, which then gets ultimately converted into the spider graph, at least in the context of how I prepared for the examination. Now, if nothing else, the technique is what I want to impress upon you. The fact that your notes, the ones you have taken in raw form, are not what's meant to be used for your examination. Far from it. The idea is that you extract from it the most relevant bits of the law that you can then expand upon during your examination. It's not a one-step process. It's supposed to be a distillation over time. And then once you have your summarized format, in my case, it's the spider graphs, you should not just see that spider graph. You should actually see everything that was there before it, essentially the expanded version of it. Your notes, your A4 summary, your A5 summary, and then finally the technique through your spider graph itself. Right. This video is to dispel any notion that there is a shortcut to the preparation of the law. When it comes to preparing for law in terms of assessments or assignments, it's always good to look at it from a broader perspective before going granular. If you'd like to learn more and have an in-depth understanding of different subjects in law, I would highly recommend having a look at my online law school platform, complete with over 500 hours of video lessons that I've conducted with fast track and masterclass students from all around the world. But until the next time that we meet, have fun, stay safe, and as always, obey the law.